What's happening, people? Welcome to another video. We are officially 25 weeks out from the first show of the season, the WNBF Pro Hercules. Super excited, feeling good. First week of prep is in the books. Weighed in this morning 170.7 pounds, so we're actually down a full pound since we fired the deficit up on Tuesday. Feeling very just in the groove, flow state, as some would call it. Navigated the holidays, obviously recording this post-Christmas, so getting through the holidays was rather effortless this year, just with being in the position we're in, the amount of food I had to play with. The only day I really kind of adjusted things was Christmas Day itself, just because I knew we were going to have like a larger meal for dinner, higher carbohydrates. So I basically just stuck with pretty low carb through the day. I think I only had like one meal of carbohydrates. The rest was basically protein, vegetables, and then I honestly probably underate that day from what I would normally do. My hunger signals are very much in a normal range right now. So even when I'm like pushing food back, you would think that like it's like, okay, now time to get in a good bit of carbohydrates, a good bit of food. And once I kind of had like a normal serving, I was like, I'm good. We did chicken parm, so we did like an Italian kind of Christmas with Carrie and her family. So that day we did chicken parm, a little bit of pasta, garlic bread, and then I think that was it. Oh, salad, Caesar salad. I'm not a big pasta guy, so I had like maybe a cup of pasta and then probably like a 6-7 ounce chicken breast, a little bit of sauce, a little bit of cheese on there. So like I think I could probably guarantee that I underate on that day. And then dessert, there was nothing crazy. So I think I had a couple like small little brownie pieces and that was it. So I definitely hit my protein for the day, had some vegetables, but carbs and fats were probably a bit under. But anyways, let's get into the subject of the video. I put up a little Q&A probably like 2 weeks ago on my Instagram and just haven't had a chance to do that video. So I've got the questions written down here. So we're going to jump in. There's 6 questions. I didn't want this video to be like a half-hour video, so I just picked 6 kind of somewhat interesting ones, and we'll just dive in. So first question. This one actually made me laugh. So thoughts on bulking being vaulted. So I actually had to look up what vaulted means. So that clearly proves that there's a generational gap between who asked this question and myself. So turns out vaulted just means like put away. Bulking's in the past. We don't do that anymore. I think as a blanket statement, I think if I keep looking this way, it's because baby's sleeping. Just got to make sure he's good. I think a blanket term of bulking being just like in the past, I don't think is 100% accurate. I think bulking has its place for certain individuals in certain situations. So for example, when I think of like the young lifter, the new lifter, the lifter that needs to like really kind of just jump into putting on size and getting in a calorie surplus, I think for that individual or those individuals, I think bulking has its place for sure. But I will say as time goes on and you get longer in this sport or longer in your training career, I don't think bulking is necessarily the process in which you need to partake. So for example, me, I am now like 15 years of training, going on year 10 of competitive bodybuilding. I don't need to bulk anymore with regards to like what people think is bulking, which is just like eating a shit ton of food and just like trying to gain weight. I don't need to do that anymore, right? I still get up, north of 30 pounds above stage weight. But even looking ahead and how comfortably I've been able to maintain kind of this body comp around like 170 to 175, I honestly don't know if I need to push past that after this season. I feel really good here. My training is good here. My calories are at a reasonable spot. Like I've been able to maintain this at like north of 3,000 calories, which for me is super comfortable. So I don't know if I need to even get up to like the 180, the 185, 190 after this season. I also really like how I look at this body weight. So for those reasons, I don't know if even for me, I need to push past that. But, if you're someone that's young and that's getting into this whole muscle building journey, you're 15, 16, 17 years old, like, man, just eat and train, get the bulking going, you know, that first couple years of training is probably what's going to yield like a lot of very positive changes to your physique. And yes, you're going to gain some body fat, but you're probably going to gain like a really good proportionate amount of muscle to that body fat. Whereas for me, you know, to push up, you know, 40, 50 pounds above my stage weight, or, you know, 20 pounds above this current weight, am I going to really see such substantial progress in comparison to like that newer, younger lifter? Like, probably not. So, is bulking vaulted? For some people, yes. For some people, no. Next question. Current training split. This is something that I've been pretty much running the last year and a half now. So I have chest, shoulders, abs, and then I have back and delts. No, back and rear delts and traps. And then I have an arm day, and then I have an upper body day, and then I have a leg day. So only one leg day, which is something that is very foreign to me. I've typically done at least, you know, 2 or 1.5 leg days for years and years and years and years. For a long time, it was like the leg day that was by itself was like a quad focus day, and then I had hamstrings with like a back of my body day. So that's been interesting, but I think it's served me well. I really do, because I've been really hammering those quads and quad focused movements on that singular leg day. And then the arm day has undoubtedly helped my physique, just kind of completing some of the shots where my arms are away from my body. I always notice that like in my side poses where my arms are kind of tucked in, you know, it looked good, but in, you know, front and back double, when my arms are kind of pulled away from me, they just looked a little thinner. So having that singular arm day, and even some days I do a little bit of triceps after chest and shoulders, or a little bit of biceps with back if I have time. So arms definitely getting hit really hard once a week, and then sometimes like a top up a second time a week has served me well. So obviously that training split that I rhymed off there is specific to my physique and my needs. So I'm not saying that's what you should do, but for myself and the point I'm in my competitive career and assessing areas that needed the attention, the split has worked very, very well. Next question, bodybuilding advice for a new parent. I think this could be a whole video in itself, so I'll try to make this short and sweet, and maybe just rhyme off like 2 or 3 super points of note. So for those that don't know, I'm a new parent. Little dude is just past 8 months now, so he came into our world in April. Here we are in December, going into January here soon, and you know, he's closing in on that year mark, which is pretty crazy. So the first thing, the first piece of advice is accept that it's going to be very hard at the beginning. I don't know any new parent that doesn't get through that first little bit that's like, that was a battle. For us, that first like 6 to 8 weeks was the hardest part for sure. And, you know, there's challenges along the way, and, you know, now he's starting to teeth, so he has his fits and he has his moments, but, you know, I think we've gotten very lucky as far as like his sleep routine and that kind of stuff, and, you know, understanding his timing of naps and everything like that. But, you know, that first little bit, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be tricky to train. It's going to be tricky to get food in. Your sleep's going to be all over the place. So just kind of accept that, take it for what it is. Remember that it's short term, right? As far as like your whole training career goes, it's a drop in the bucket. You're not going to be any less of an athlete because you've missed 4 or 5 weeks of consistency in your routine or whatever the case may be. Just kind of grin and bear it. Point number 2 is learning. How do I put this? Learning to be flexible with your training. I think that's something that even for me, having the home gym, which was a lifesaver, I fully accept that like my situation is very blessed to have the home gym compared to some. You know, I think back and I'm like, man, how would I have gotten to the gym? You know what I mean? Like, how would I have taken the 15-20 minutes to drive to the gym, even try to like shortchange a half hour, 45-minute workout, which even for me, like that just isn't long enough. And then, you know, 20 minutes back, like it's an hour and a half, 2 hours of the day that, you know, trying to find that on top of like parenting and working and that kind of stuff. I just really struggled to figure out when the heck I would pull that off. So the home gym was a godsend, but even with that, like being flexible, like sometimes you're only gonna be able to get in 4 workouts. Sometimes they're gonna get cut short because you got to be a parent and you've got to relieve your wife from mom duty for a little bit, or whatever it may be. And I think learning that, and that's something that I've learned from being a parent, is just learning flexibility and knowing when to kind of pull yourself away from what you're doing for a little bit, because parent obligations obviously come first, and that's going to come from your training and that kind of stuff. But you get better as time goes on. I will say that when you're in the moment, and Carrie and I can look back and laugh on this now, because even we would talk to, oh, we got movement. We would talk to parents and be like, man, this is so hard. And their kids are 8, 9, 10 months, and they're like, don't worry, it gets better. They do start to sleep, this and that. And we're now in that position where we have people that we know that are new parents, and they're like, holy, this is challenging. And we're like, yep, but just you'll get through it, right? So what's one more point I could give? Advice, bodybuilding advice. Bodybuilding encourages you to prepare and plan ahead, and I think being a new parent is even more of a push for that. So when it comes to like meal prepping and having stuff planned, like your time to prepare and cook your meals and this kind of stuff is probably going to be even more sparse than maybe it previously had been. So bulk cooking 4 or 5 days in advance, packing it up, that way it's just kind of grab and go, throw it in the microwave or whatever. Super useful, super good skill to learn. So I guess that would be my other piece of advice, is like planning ahead, prepare your meals. If you're going to plan your workouts, say, okay, I have 4 45-minute slots this week that I for sure can make work. That's all I can do. It is what it is, right? So there's my advice for you if you're in that new parent boat. What do you attribute to your prep going so well? So obviously, like, I'm just like formally starting prep, but I did a pre-prep diet where we dropped basically from 195 to kind of that 170, 175. And then we just held that, slowly built calories up, and got me in the position I'm in now, where I've, officially started prep as of this past week. So, as far as it going so well, I think planning ahead was obviously the big one, is just making sure that, we gave myself adequate time to get in the shape I needed to get into. And then, when mapping back from when I'm going to be on stage, it's like, okay, how much do I need to probably lose, and how much time do I want to give for that? So I'm probably right now, 15 pounds from like solid conditioning, and maybe 20 pounds from nasty conditioning. So being 25 weeks out from the first show and 31 weeks out from kind of the big target, I got lots of time. So I've got a good bit of time to probably get, even 10 pounds off from now into the 160, early 160s looks solid. And then after that, it starts to get pretty exciting and pretty cool looking. But I have basically 30 weeks-ish to lose that 15 to 20 pounds, right? So lots of time. Take it super slow, coast down into it. What else can I attribute? My experience is definitely starting to come into play now. I'm 10 years, as of next year, it'll be 10 years of competing. And, over those 10 years, you learn skills and build habits along the way that maybe you don't necessarily notice pay off until it's years and years and years later. My ability to go with the flow is probably the best it's ever been, and it's an area that I struggle with. As far as like not having kind of all my ducks in a row with regards to meal timing and prep, and when am I going to train, what time do I need to be in the gym, and this and that, and did I get all my sets in and everything like that. But I think that's one of the kind of perks becoming a new parent has afforded me, is it's forced me to learn to just kind of flow with how things go. And it's helped me with bodybuilding, because I don't stress now if I'm not eating at a certain time, or if my workout wasn't as good as maybe it could have been, because I know I'm, what's the phrase go? I'm moving the big rocks where they need to go, and the small little rocks I'm just kind of like pushing where I can. But I know the big rocks, as far as like hitting my calorie and macro goals, and like pushing hard in the gym when I do train, and even though it maybe not a full workout or not all the sets I'd want to do, I know that the work I did do was quality. I'm posing practice, like the big things that are going to get me to where I need to go, they're being checked off. And the little things that are not necessarily as important, they're coming. They're come on, let's go. They're coming along the way. But I know the main stuff is being adhered to, right? So that is something that I can honestly say you might not learn right away. I mean, like I said, I'm 10 years into doing this, and I'm still learning things. I'm still learning how to do this process better. And when I look at athletes like Alberto Nunes or Jeff Alberts or any of the number of athletes that have been doing this like 2 times as long as I have, they do things that I'm like, man, I don't know how you do that. Like, I was listening to a podcast with Alberto this morning, and he was talking about how his last prep, he like didn't track his calories at all. It was just like so much of intuition and understanding and knowing what certain phases of prep should feel like, and understanding the visual and the body weight changes and adjusting his process accordingly. But even for me to think that like, oh, I'm not gonna weigh out my meals and stuff like that, still I'm not ready for that yet. But hopefully we get there. So yeah, those are some things that I think definitely have paid off now. Next question, how many shows for 2025? Definitely at least 4. I think 4 is pretty much what I can guarantee. WNBF Pro debut, and then qualifier for nationals, and then I think there's one more floater that's probably going to happen. It just depends on what happens at the first couple shows. But I will say I have a list of 6 that should I feel like jumping in early, or if I want to punch a qualification early, then I will. It's just a matter of like, if I'm feeling it, right? Like, I know, let's say 100% me is on stage at like 150 pounds. I know 160 pounds me is still solid and can be competitive, especially in a middleweight or a lightweight class or whatever I may be at the time. And knowing that a qualifier is simply a top 3, so even if I jump in early and I'm not perfect, I'm confident I can still probably lock a qualification. So, is that end of April? Is that middle of May? Is that early June? Like those are kind of like up in the air as far as like what I'm thinking. I have one that's on the list that if I don't do those things, it's like, okay, this is the for sure qualifier that I'm doing. But if I feel like jumping in early, and whether I just want to step on stage early or shake the cobwebs off early or just get that qualification over with at the start of the season, then I will. But yeah, so 4 shows for sure, 6 potentially. Last one, kind of just touched on that. What is your stage weight? So looking back at last season, there's like depletion kind of peak week weight, and then there's stage weight. So my lowest during peak weeks, when we're like depleting and getting my body primed to load up for the show, was like low 150s. The last show I did, I hit 149. So it's the only time I hit 140s, which was the last depletion day before the last show in 2022. But then I carved up. We loaded crazy on the Friday, stepped on stage on Saturday at 158 pounds. So 9 pounds of pop. So I would say my true stage weight, if we're looking at like a kind of happy middle ground, is mid 150s, right? But I would, looking at my physique, I would not be surprised if I step on stage at the higher 150s, even like a carved up 160. I don't think that's impossible, which is pretty cool. I'm looking at photos, and maybe I'll put some up right here because I just made these this morning. But this is a comparison of when I was 170. I was 170.7 this morning, so let's call it 171 pounds for simple comparison. 171 pounds, 2022 to current 2024. This was 2022, so I competed earlier in the season. So these were like September 2021 to current December 2024, but same body weight, right? So I see the changes, right? I can clearly see there's muscularity differences in these comparison photos. So on the flip side, there's probably room to get a bit leaner in comparison to when I was on stage 2022. There's some small little areas that I know we can maybe push a pound, maybe a pound and a half, 2 pounds off. So that kind of like, you know, you build a pound or two of muscle, you lose a pound or two of fat, scale weight doesn't change, visually, big difference. So I know I'll probably land around that mid 150s, but again, I think like fully loaded, carved up, I could probably break a 160 on stage, which would be cool. That'd be a good look. It'd be sweet from that, because technically I've grown out of the lightweights, but still a true lightweight probably at heart. But anyways, guys, that's gonna close this out. I hope you guys enjoyed this little Q&A video, little passive, just chill, sit down, chit chat, trying to keep these somewhat frequently as prep goes on. But it's a lot navigating life and baby, business, coaching nicely. Oh, we got a little grown. Coaching is going well heading into the new year, and you know, it's nice that there's no shows right now, just because it affords me to get my feet going with prep and enjoy some downtime with the family. And then, you know, as we hit into the spring, things start to ramp up, and thankfully earlier in the season is relatively quiet, end of March, April, May. But then as we hit June onwards into next year is going to be absolutely unreal. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the athletes that I have on the roster next year. I'm so excited for the shows we have planned, because it's going to be a step up for the team, which I'm really, really excited about. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, do all the good stuff, and we'll see you guys in the next one.